That we are really greatly appreciative of being here today, particularly to talk about authentic self. It's not a common topic in many of the workshops that I've attended over time in the field of music, and it also gives each of us a chance to ask ourselves, are we presenting our authentic self? Whether we're in the music business or pursuing elements that bring us out into the community, are we being perceived as authentic? I'm happy to introduce PaviElle to talk about this. We have a bit of an outline that we're going to go through today, and because I can see you so well, I can probably also see when you have a question burning across your forehead. So we're going to also keep time open for that as well. We want to be engaged. We don't want to be talking heads. So I'm going to open the floor to PaviElle, who is going to begin by giving you a sense of her backstory. She's going to talk a little about she's going to not talk as fast as I'm talking, and she's going to talk a little bit about staying true to your goals and your artistic vision, and a few other topics as we go along. So thank you for being here today, PaviElle.
Thank you, Janis. Thank you, Ellen, for having me. I'm really happy to be here. My background, a little bit about me. I grew up performing. I started performing when I was 5 years old. I was like a kid performer, whatever you call it. By the time I was like 10, 12 years old, I had the shows with Maya Angelou, James Earl Jones, Mannheim Steamroller, John Denver, playing Orpheum, all these places and stuff like that. And I kind of knew right then and there, this is something that I wanted to do. And it was just something that I've always kind of managed as a part of my life. No matter what else I do, because I do a whole bunch of other stuff too besides just being an artist. But most of my training came from Walker West Music Academy and the music schools. I went to Mississippi Magnet. And then I also was trained at Penumbra Theater, Stepping Stone Theater. I started Penumbra when I was about 13. Just spent a lot of time with Regina Marie Williams and Thomasina Petrus and a lot of jazz heads and a lot of great people, great artists of this community kind of raised me up. I'm from Rondo. It's a historically black neighborhood in St. Paul, and so a lot of ties there, and I just try to stay rooted in what I was raised to believe and where I was raised up and how I was raised up in the village. I still carry that mentality and that torch and that aesthetic as an artist.
You mentioned something as you've been introducing yourself, PaviElle, that I want to break down just a little more. In the list of places that you noted that you encountered audiences, I want to take a little more time to talk about you being a cross-disciplinary artist. You're not just a vocalist, you're not just an actress, you're not just a teacher and performer. Tell our audience a little more about how you've come to develop this passion across disciplines, and how can you really still stay authentic to yourself when you have to weave in and out of different levels of engagement?
I was trained in dance, acting, and vocals, and then I also took like keyboard, took saxophone and stuff like that. I was in band, so I just did a little bit of everything, and it was all open to me, and nothing was really, you can't do this. And so I just was like, oh, I'm gonna do everything. I'm just gonna do all the things that I wanted to do. And I think even back then, at 6, 7, 8 years old, I was very true to my authenticity in that, where I wasn't the normal body in these spaces, like being in dance, being in jazz, tap, and ballet with a whole bunch of people who don't look like me, culturally, race-wise, and body type-wise. And being a full-figured student in these spaces where people are usually normally like, hey, you don't belong here. Even back then, I was more like, this is what I'm doing, and nobody can really tell me anything. And I think that's where my authenticity in that grew, just because I was very headstrong and just believed I could do whatever. And I've taken that into a different, and just up that as the levels go in my life. It's just to do what it is from the heart, because that's where all my art is based at. It's not a means for me to make money. I did that starving artist thing when I was younger, and it just wasn't for me to
solely focus on that and that be my career. I always have worked and done this too, so it's just, I always looked at it like, because I don't have to do it necessarily to eat, that I can take things that I want to take. I can take gigs I want to take. I can be involved in things I want to be involved in, as opposed to like back in the day where if it was for me to eat, I had to do it, whether I was interested in doing it or not, or if it made me feel, like it crossed my artistic integrity to be doing this, I would still be like, we gotta eat. So I think like trying to frame that and keeping my authenticity in all these different levels and cross-disciplinary levels and the different mediums and the different rules and the formulas in each art form, I'm still always just gonna do it. Yeah.
That's a good segue into the question that I have about your goals and being an artist that forms so comfortably across disciplines. How do you establish goals that you can actually achieve when some of the disciplines don't necessarily easily segue into each other or across fields? There are some things that I'm aware in my estimation, you have to have a certain kind of lilt and stamina to be engaged as a dancer, which is slightly different from the experience of playing the saxophone.
Okay, where do I start? I think for me, the different art forms, subjectively, they're not different to me. I think they take the same amount of intensity and discipline and focus for each one. It just depends, I guess, on the medium that I'm doing it, you know what I mean? But for me, everything, I look at it all the same, and I'm just as intent with all the disciplines. And so, because most of everything that I do comes out of the music that I make, the dance comes from the music, or the poetry comes from the music, or the writing, or the acting, it's all created around the music that I create. It makes it a little bit easier because it's already got a place that I want it to be, and I see what it is that I'm doing in the bigger picture of it all. So it's not. The stamina-wise, I try to just keep rooted in the fact that it's something that I really want to do, and it's a blessing, so that it doesn't get too muddy and too hard and too overwhelming for me. It's always in that we're just leveling up as we go, and with the goals and vision and stuff, it's not even something that I set. I don't know, I could be rambling, sorry y'all, if you don't understand what I'm doing. But this is just how my mind works. It's just like, it's here. But just with the goals and goal setting, it's not that I have any particular goals. It's just the main goal is that I want to be an artist forever. And
with
just,
a vision.
Yeah, and just continue to level up. I just want to keep trying to deal with the world and deal with everything and deal with life head on through the art. So it's not like I'm just going, okay, I want to do this, and then I want to write a play, and then I want to do this. More like, I think the best way to get this feeling across or to get this statement across is for me to sit down and, write whatever. It just kind of comes to me like that. It's not something that I plan or any of this. That's why it's all been crazy and cross-disciplinary, because it's just every other minute I'm like, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this.
Do you check in with anyone in your community, teachers, other artists, when you are examining or self-examining your artistic vision and wanting to make sure that you're still on point, being authentic? There are people, for example, I've experienced you in various settings, and I've come away from those experiences pretty enlightened about what I receive from you when I'm in the midst of your artistic expression. So when you're exploring your artistic vision and you're wondering, am I still coming across as authentic? how do you engage feedback from audience members? Do you go back and listen to what you've done? How do you do that, particularly for people in the audience that are expressing their artistic vision and wondering, am I still being authentic or do I seem shallow and vague?
Yeah, I definitely rely on feedback 100%. I have about 5 people in my life that I base everything off of. So like anytime I write new music, I send it an email to my brother and my cousin. They first, because like once it gets past, they're like the litmus test. And once it gets past them, or I get the okay, or they at least understand where I'm going, then I continue on with that. Even when people don't like it, or even if they don't feel what it is that I'm doing, usually I'm still gonna go ahead with it. I just feel like the universe is very in tune with the things that you're doing as an artist, because it's a different kind of brain and it's a different kind of mind. We think differently, and we are in tune because of the things that we can bring forth from our mind. Like, we manifest the things that we see. So for me, I'm gonna go forward with it anyway, but I'm always gonna, let people listen to it, let people hear it, or let people see it, or whatever it is. Usually I check in with everybody that's mentored me or raised me up, or people that just genuinely know who I am and know the kind of art that I've done. It keeps me in check either way, if they like it or if they don't like it. But it just keeps me grounded, so I don't get so caught up in my stuff and then just be only feeling my own stuff. And that's a whole nother
topic.
That I seriously try to avoid that, because that's not the reason why we are doing this,
Well, when I was asked to have a conversation with you today, I did what I usually do. I looked up the word authentic. I noted some particular characteristics, and in the definition it said such things as follow your heart, really feel it, then follow the feeling, be genuine, and pay attention to your beliefs and goals. As I thought about today's conversation, I also wanted to be clear that we talked a little bit about being a person of color, being a woman in the industry, which has another dynamic we all know, whether we talk about it or not, and also being of queer-centric life means that there's a level of authenticity that not everyone is conscious of when you're presenting your work. How do you also maintain that level of authenticity without being guarded, and with a sense that you want anyone sitting in this audience to be able to really feel your values, feel what you're doing, and not be turned off, disappointed, or say, I don't know, she's one of those. What do you, when I say that to you, what does it spark, and how has that led you to continue to be authentic?
Well, just being a Black woman and being queer, it informs my whole livelihood in my life. It informs every bit of my artistry. It informs every bit of my thought process, because of the labels and boxes and everything that those things put you into society. And so I think to be out and proud, and to be just adamantly honest about everything that I am, it's more inspirational to other people to do that, because I seem to be blocking the things that normally block us with this honesty, because nobody can hold it over me. It's leverage. As an artist, like, people can't, you know what I mean? Like, some people didn't really want that to be out as artists. Like, it's not the thing to do in society, is to necessarily tell the truth. But because I tell that truth, I have a unbelievably crazy sense of freedom with this artistry beyond that. And so it informs the words that I write. It's all about, all my work is about being Black, being a woman, being queer, growing up in a Black neighborhood that was destroyed by gentrification. Like, all these things are the basis of my art. And so therefore I couldn't omit any of that or live as an artist that was, just not outspoken about these things, because these are things that are major social issues in our country. But I think just in being that and just saying that to people, it's rebellious and it's revolutionary. You know what I mean? It's my art.
So you made a good segue for me again, unknowingly, when you just described your sense of self and being true to yourself. You do a lot of work in community and with community organizations, which also helps to develop relationships that expands and extends your artistic network. Can you tell us if you're consciously doing that each time you make a decision, or is the trajectory of the work you've done before continuing to lead you into those situations?
I grew up with activist parents. My mom was really heavily involved in her community, and my father was an Army vet, and he worked for community action. So these were things I was exposed to my whole life, and it's just a part of who I am to continue this. Even if I wasn't in the artistic industry, I would still be avid in the community, in the arts organizations, and places like Hallie Q. Brown, the Penumbras, all that kind of stuff. Just because of my sense of pride for my people and the want for healing in our communities and things of that nature, and not just the Black community, but our society and our world community as a whole. I think it's just very important to push that particular agenda, because it's mainly what we need. I mean, that's the whole reason why I'm an artist, is because I feel like that's the best vehicle to be able to speak truth. For me, it's the best way for me to say things that are not necessarily what everybody wants to hear, because the music is lovely. You know what I mean? And so it's just like listening to Bob Marley. Like, he was saying some serious stuff, but the music was beautiful. And so it just kind of makes it easier for people to take, and that's why it's the universal language. You know what I mean? So it's all, once again, it's all of the whole. It's not, none of these things are separate. They're all tied in.
For those who may not have experienced your work live and direct, can you talk a little bit about how you bring out socioeconomic issues in your performance settings, in your conversations? We might as well say people do have conversations with each other over social media. And what, if anything, might you want to share with this audience about activism and its being a twin to authenticity?
Activism is important, because I think that the higher level that we go, we have this responsibility with the platform that we have to be in service. You know what I mean? Even if it's social justice, or for something for kids, or something for old folks, or something for the community, or whatever it is, whatever your passion is, we have the ability to use our platforms, our networks, to make things happen and to create change in our neighborhoods, create change in our lives, create change in the music industry, especially being in a smaller town and where the community is like 1 degree of separation. Like, we are all involved with each other. And so it's just, for me, it's easier to combine all these things and, be in the middle of a set and check in with people dancing on the stage and see if they're with us. It's little things. It's little things, how I get these messages across. It's very strategic. It's not just blatant and I'm just up here preaching at you. You know what I mean? It's just got to be done. For me, it's got to be done in a way where I can connect. I got you now. You're playing music for like a half hour. Y'all are with me. So now it's time for me to say little things here and there, that we're all one, or that we are in this together, or we, what I mean? That kind of stuff. Yeah.
I like the fact that you are reminding the audience that you do have to check in. I've been to, like many of you, hundreds of thousands of performances, maybe a little more than you because I've got a little more time on my side. And I've been in situations where I've seen the saxophonist going into his or her thing, but not at all ever checking back out into the eyes of the people sitting nearby. Are they still with me? Are they yawning and bored or whatever the situation might be? And do they change to try to bring me back into the fold? Are they just out there being somewhat clueless? And when I say this because we're getting to a point where we do want to raise questions, and I do want you, before you do that, to talk about how you managed to do that. You're also working a 9 to 5, you're also booking yourself, and then you come to a gig like this one or others, and you're conscious of, am I bringing my authentic self, and inviting those in the audience to give me some eyeball feedback or some kind of consciousness that lets me know, do I need to switch tracks? Have I lost them? Have I lost myself in being authentic at this point or what?
Okay, I feel like mainly work with, let's talk about the book of myself and stuff and staying authentic on that part.
Right.
To stay authentic for now and for everything that I've been doing, booking myself and managing myself has helped me be able to do that. Because when you have people who are booking for you, they're selling you in so many words, and they're setting you up and coming up with all these different key phrases, terms, and all these things about how hot you are and all these other things. And for me, it's more like I can tell the places that I book, here's what I'm doing, here's what I got, here's what my band is, and it's everything from here. So it's not like I am selling myself short or setting myself up to come out and be expected to do something that I can't. I kind of learned that when I was younger. You know, I like talked to a couple of agents and managers, and the first thing that they wanted to do for me was change me, change my way, change my look. You know, didn't want me to be natural, like all these different kind of things that made me go, what am I doing this for? Because this is for myself. Like, I feel like as artists, it's easier for us to manage ourselves because we know what we want. And it takes just as much discipline as you use for your art as for you to book yourself. I mean, it's not a hard thing. I think that industries set us up to believe these things, that we can't do these things alone and that we don't have the power. But I mean, I've been booking and managing myself my whole life. And over these last 5 years where the band has blown up and I've gotten all these, you know, awards, and I got an Emmy and, you know, all these other things, these are all things that I put together for myself. These were nothing that somebody else went out and got for me. And so until I get to a point where I can't do anything anymore, that's when I'll ask for help. But you just kind of got to let the universe guide you on these things, and that's where the authenticity stays at, because you are using your umi or your ori or the spirit to guide you in what you're doing. You'll know when it's right and you'll know when it's wrong, and it keeps you. It allows you to have options and choices with your career or what it is that you want to do.
Well, I feel my ori is telling me that there's some burning questions in the audience. And want to ask someone or anyone, as you've been listening and things have been coming across your mind, you want to do a shout out, stand up, speak loudly, raise something that's not been discussed. Yes, sir, and then you're next.
You know, you're a cross-disciplinary artist. You've been doing, you know, new things. As you start to find more commercial success, which brings opportunities, which I assume are great experiences, is there any kind of a push or a pull to keep repeating the thing that you got acknowledged for or got you to that next step, as opposed to just following your muse and saying, this is where I'm going next, and are you going to come along? Is there almost an anchor that wants you to, you know, to stay where you've been so that you can continue to build the old audience?
No, not at all. I just kind of am more like, let's go on to the next level, and whatever's next is what's next. They're gonna announce it next week, so I can say it, but I can't tell. I mean, like, I can tell you.
Oh, breaking news, everybody wake up, wake up, wake up.
So, like, I somehow got a commission from St. Paul Chamber Orchestra to write a piece for them. Thanks, y'all. But I would have never imagined that would be something I would be doing, like as an artist, even as a singer, actor, dancer. That's just nothing that was even in my trajectory, but I kept manifesting this. I want to do something different. I want to do something that gets me to Paris. I want to do something that gets me to the UK. And then all of a sudden, you know, I just got this idea. I had seen Liquid Music and was like, hey, I want to do that. But then ended up doing something else, and like walking in there and negotiating a deal for them to do that. So that's totally out of the box. I'm like, don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it. And that for me is, I like that trajectory. I don't want to hang on to what got me on, because I got those people, they're good. But I want more people, and new people, and people from different genres and stuff that wouldn't even know me because I'm an R&B singer. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, I really stray away from keeping things the same, or just finding that lightning in a bottle. I'm like, nope, if I could do that, then the next stuff I do could even be greater. Yeah.
Good question. Yes, you next.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions actually, but I'll point out that I relate to you a little bit with this, you know, women, interdisciplinary, queer, kind of like putting yourself in a space. Additionally, I'm going to take up a little bit of space and ask like a list of questions. And a couple of them might inform each other, just I guess something to go off of and converse with. But as a like interdisciplinary artist, I guess where do you see your strengths and where do you see your weaknesses? I guess for me personally, it might be time management, but I'd love to hear about kind of where everything goes and swirls around. Additionally, do you see yourself in spaces as not being authentic, and does it ever benefit you, I guess?
I'll answer the latter question first. Yes, as a black artist, sometimes I've been pulled into like a lot of white organizations or places where they've asked me to be things where I know it's tokenism, or I know it's just for an aesthetic and for a look. And usually I try to negotiate that when I'm in those kind of situations. And if I can't, I always am open to talk. And, you know, like I've had issues with the walker when the scaffold thing happened, or, you know, like I was slated to do something and I had to pull out because we sat down and talked and we didn't come to an agreement. And so for me, I'm that kind of person, like I will pull out of something as an artist, and even if that like they tell us, oh, it'll hurt you or it'll get you blacklisted or whatever. For me, if it's against my integrity and my artistic integrity, then I will not do it. Anytime I feel like that, because I don't feel like we should be bound to things because and go against our grain and go against our heart because it's something that's going to get us put on, or it's exposure or any of that kind of thing. It's like you can get that anywhere. You can book anywhere, anytime. I mean, we can get that anywhere, and that's not what this is about. It's not about the exposure. It's about the heart of it and about living a true life as an artist and trying to create that for yourself.
Yeah.
As far as strengths and weaknesses are concerned, I always feel like I am a musician first. If there's anything that I am the best at in my life, it is that. And then from the musician base, everything else comes, because my musicianhood informs my dance, it informs my art. Time management is pretty good. Like, I don't know how I've done this, but you know what I mean? Like I get up, I work every morning. I work from 7 o'clock in the morning to 3:30, and then when I'm off, I do art. And so, you know, I've gone through a couple different jobs until I could find the type of flexibility that I needed, but it's there, and you can do it. And you got to push past the fear of not having a job, or, you know, push past the fear of like holding on to something for a little bit and finding another job and then moving on to that and then moving on to that until you find the ones that can work with you. Because, like, you know, I'm slated to do a play in June, and my job is like, okay, we can, you know, work with you on taking a few half days so you can do your tech rehearsals. you know, those things. You just gotta find people that are willing to work with you, but you can really do time management very well. Like I sleep, I go to gym every day, you know, there's just, you have to compartmentalize stuff if you really want it. And that's why I tell the kids I used to work with all the time, if you really want it, you can do both these things. You can be a left and a right brainer, you know.
We have 5 minutes remaining in this session. I should have prompted you beforehand to let you know that PaviElle also has another family engagement, so we're not going to go to the top of the hour. And want to make sure that the gentleman in the black jacket, and I see a couple of other burning thoughts on people's foreheads, but they haven't raised their hands, so I'm not going to call you out, but I will let you know that if you do have a question, get it in now. Yes, sir.
As an artist that has a day job, how do you hang on to those times when you're at work and you get an inspiration that you need to just have because you want to get in the studio and be able to bring that to fruition? What are the tools that you use to hang on to those inspirations when you can't be the artist?
Bathroom breaks and lunch breaks are my best friends. Because I will go to the bathroom and hit the record button and get a melody out of my head in a hot minute. I do it every day.
That's great. I mean, seriously, that's great.
I do it all the time. Like I'll put a little window with Word in the, you know, at my computer screen, and I'll type up there. Like if something hits me, I'll do it. Cause you never know when it hits you. But yeah, lunch breaks, I do a lot of meetings, a lot of phone meetings, a lot of meetings with people there's an atrium in there that I can just sit down and have business meetings with, so I do them over my lunches. I make, you know, phone calls, I'll book gigs, I do all that kind of stuff. I'll do it in between answering phones.
So I need to know where the bathroom is where you sit. If you see somebody in there just kind of hanging out, that might be me.
There's this stall, it's like got all this room, and I can just go in there and chill. It's got like a window, and it's super cool, and it's like super private. It's the one that nobody goes to. But for real, just find yourself a place. Go outside quick, you know what I mean? Jot some stuff down, but don't work doesn't. I'm rebellious like that, where it's like, you know, the work will get done, but I'm not working for somebody else's dream. I'm working for mine. And so that takes precedence no matter what my gig is or no matter what's going on. It's fulfilling, that's the things that fulfill your heart. Those are the little things that keep us going in such a hard time, hard climate, hard world. Are those things that are intrinsic and innate to us. And so we have to do those things, even in the little times. It's such self-love. It makes you feel better, and you can start seeing the little things. It's inspirational, and it makes you want to do more. It pushes you.
That is a great note to say your authenticity is so vibrant, strong, everlasting. It came across today much more so than I had anticipated. I am so glad that you were able to share it with this audience and that I've had a chance to actually experience it live, direct, and up close. If you've not seen PaviElle perform live, check her out, get on her Facebook page, watch for her post. There are other places where I know that you're in the know, so you will know where to catch her. You want to say where you're playing? Yep, tell where are you next, girlfriend?
I'll be at the Ice House on April 20th, so you should come down. I am doing a fundraiser that night too, just where, the place I'm going to a cousin's funeral.
Excuse me. Okay, somebody wants the info from the back door.
But unfortunately, two of my cousins were killed in a car accident by a drunk driver in Duluth 2 Mondays ago. And you may have seen it on Star Trek and stuff like that. It was on the news and everything. But we are going to do just like a little give at this show and stuff. And it'll be at the merch table. And Ice House is sweet and kind enough to donate proceeds, some of the proceeds from the door and stuff for our, ask and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So that's the 20th of April.
Yep, and it'll be.
Everybody knows where Ice House is?
Yep, Shannon Blowtorch is DJing, and it's gonna be a really good night. I play with a 6-piece band, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. So, guys are coming. And thank y'all so much for this is my first keynote ever, and so I was super nervous about it. I'll be authentic to tell you the truth.